जय यमुना तीरवन चारी जय कुंज विहारी। जय यमुना तीरवन चारी जय कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा श्रील प्रभुपादा। जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद। Jyom Vishwabad Paramahamsa Parivrajakarya Shrotada Shadasri Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder-Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai। Jyom Vishwabad Paramahamsa Parivrajakarya Ashtottara Shadasri Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananda Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, नाम आचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. Today we are going to read from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 7, chapter 12, entitled The Perfect Society for Spiritual Classes. So I'll first read the chapter summary and we will read through a few verses. Okay, first. This chapter particularly describes the brahmachari and the person in vanaprastha stage. And it also gives a general description of the four ashrams: brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha and sannyas. In the previous chapter, the great saint Narada Muni has described the varna institution of society, and now in this chapter he will describe the stages of spiritual advancement in the four ashramas, which are known as brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha and sannyas. The brahmachari should live under the care of the true spiritual master, giving him sincere respect and obeisances, acting as his menial servant, and always carrying out his order. The brahmachari should engage himself in spiritual activities and study the Vedic literature under the direction of the spiritual master. According to the brahmacharya system, he should dress with a belt, deerskin, and matted hair, and should bear a danda, water pot, and sacred thread. He should collect alms daily in the morning and in the evening. Whatever alms he was collected, he should offer to the spiritual master. A brahmachari should accept prasada upon the order of the spiritual master, and if the spiritual master sometimes forgets to order the disciple to eat, the disciple should not take prasad on his own initiative. Rather, he should fast. The brahmachari should be trained to be satisfied with eating what is absolutely necessary. He should be very expert in executing responsibilities. He should be faithful, and he should control his senses and try to avoid the association of women as far as possible. A brahmachari should very strictly abstain from living with women and should not meet with grihastha and those too addicted to women. Nor should a brahmachari speak in a lonely place with a woman. After completing one's education as a brahmachari in this way, one should give dakshina, an offering of gratitude to one's guru, and then one may leave for home and accept the next ashrama, the grihastha ashrama. Or else one may continue in the brahmacharya ashram without adulteration. The duties of the grihastha ashram and the brahmacharya ashram, as well as the duties of sannyasis, are prescribed in the shastras. A grihastha is not meant to enjoy sex life without restrictions. Indeed, the whole purpose of Vedic life is to become free from sexual indulgence. All the ashramas are recognized for spiritual progress, and therefore, although the grihastha ashram gives a kind of license for sex life for a certain time, it does not allow unrestricted sex life. Therefore, in grihastha life also there is no illicit sex. A grihastha should not accept a woman for sexual enjoyment. Wasting semen is also illicit sex. After grihastha ashrama is another ashrama known as vanaprastha, which is midway between grihastha and sannyas. A person in the vanaprastha order is restricted in eating food grains and forbidden to eat fruits that have not ripened on the trees. Nor should he cook food with fire, although he is allowed to eat charu grains that have been offered in a sacrificial fire. He may also eat fruits and grains that have grown naturally. Living in a thatched cottage, the Vanaprastha should endure all kinds of heat and cold. He should not cut his nails and hair. He should give up cleaning his body and teeth. He should wear tree bark, accept a danda, and practice life in the forest. Taking a vow to live in for 12 years, 8 years, 4 years, or 2 years, or at least 1 year. At last, when because of old age he can no longer perform the activities of a Vanaprastha, he should gradually stop everything and in this way give up his body. So that is the chapter summary. Now we will read the first verse. So here the initial verses are descriptions of Brahmacharya ashram. Verse 1. You can repeat after me. Śrīnārada uvaca Brahmachari gurukule Vasandanto gurorhitam Acharan dasavan nicho Gurau sudrudha sauhradaha Brahmachari gurukule Vasandanto gurorhitam Acharan dasavan nicho Gurau sudrudha sauhradaha Brahmachari gurukule Vasandanto gurorhitam Acharan dasavan nicho Gurau sudrudha sauhradaha. Okay, you can chant now. Prabhus. Śrīnārada uvaca Brahmachari gurukule Vasandanto gurorhitam Acharan dasavan nicho Guru suhudra saudhadaha. One more person? Yeah. Śrīnārada uvaca Brahmachari gurukule Vasandanto gurorhitam Acharan dasavan nicho Guru sudrudha sauhradaha. Mataji. Śrīnārada uvaca Brahmachari gurukule Vasandanto gurorhitam Acharan dasavan nicho Gurau sudrudha sauhradaha. Śrīnārada uvaca Brahmachari gurukule Vasandanto gurorhitam Acharan dasavan nicho Guru sudrudha sauhradaha. Word to a translation responsibly, please. Śrīnārada uvaca. Śrīnārada Muni said, Brahmachari, a Brahmachari, a student living at the residence of the Guru. Gurukule, at the residence of the Guru. Vasan, by living. Dantaha, continuously practicing control of the senses. Guroho hitam, only for the benefit of the Guru, not for one's personal benefit. Acharan, practicing. Dasavat, very humbly, like a slave. Nichaha, submissive, obedient. Gurau, unto the spiritual master. Sudridha, firmly. Sauhrada, in friendship or goodwill. Narada Muni said, a student should practice completely controlling his senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at the Gurukula only for the benefit of the Guru. Verse 2. Sayam pratar upasita guragnyarka surottaman sandhye ubhecha yatavak japan brahma samahitaha. At both junctions of day and night, namely in the early morning and in the evening, he should be fully absorbed in the thoughts of the spiritual master, fire, the sun god and Lord Vishnu. And by chanting the Gayatri mantra, he should worship them. Verse 3. Chandamsi adhiyata guror abhudaschet suryantritaha ubakrame vasane cha charano shirasanamet. Being called by the spiritual master, the student should study the Vedic mantras regularly, every day before beginning his studies, and at the end of his studies, the disciple should respectfully offer obeisances unto the spiritual master. Verse 4. Mekhalajina vasamsi jatha danda kamandalun bibhradyadi upavitam cha darbhapanir yathoditam. Carrying pure kusha grass in the hand, the brahmachari should dress regularly with a belt of straw and with deerskin garments. He should wear matted hair, carry a rod and water pot, and be decorated with a sacred thread, as recommended in the Shastras. Verse 5. Sayam pradascharet bhaikshyam guravetan nivedayat bhunjita yadi anujnato nochet upavaset kochit. The brahmachari should go out morning and evening to collect alms, and he should offer all that he collects to the spiritual master. He should eat only if ordered to take the food by the spiritual master. Otherwise, if the spiritual master does not give this order, he may sometimes have to fast. Verse 6. Sushilo midabhuk daksha shraddhadhano jidendriyaha yavadartham vyavaharet strishu stri nirjiteshu cha. A brahmachari should be quite well behaved and gentle and should not eat or collect more than necessary. He must always be active and expert, fully believing in the instructions of the spiritual master and the Shastras. Fully controlling his senses, he should associate only as much as necessary with women or those who controlled by women. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A brahmachari should be very careful not to mix with women or with men addicted to women. Although, when he goes out to beg alms, it is necessary to talk with women and with men very much attached to women. This association should be very short and should talk with them only about begging alms and not more. A brahmachari should be very careful in associating with men who are attached to women. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananchana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padagamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhannitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। भूतैर्महाद्भिर्य इमा पुरो विभु निर्मायशेते यदमूष पुरुषः भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मकः सोऽलङ्कृशिष्ट भगवान् वचांसि मे। Hare Krishna. In this chapter and in these chapters there is a very elaborate descriptions about Varna and Ashram. In reality, our dharma is known as Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is also known as Varnashrama Dharma. So the scientific name of what we practice is Varnashrama Dharma because there are 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. 4 Varnas have already been described in the previous chapter, that is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. And they are based on the occupation. And now here in a perfect society there are 4 spiritual classes. So 4 ashramas are, ashrama means shelter. Shelter means spiritual shelter. So there are 4 spiritual shelters according to the progressive stages of one's development, starting from Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. So Brahmacharya is the student life under the direction of the Guru. Then Grihastha ashram, where one has family and one has family responsibilities. And then Vanaprastha, which is retired life, only focused on spiritual life. And finally Sannyas, complete renunciation and complete dedication to the spiritual life and preaching. So these are the 4 ashramas which are recommended in the Vedic society. And the initial verses what we are discussing all are about the functions and duties of a brahmachari. So this is very important to understand the significance of brahmacharya as a general principle. We will describe that further. And also duties of brahmachari and also the need of brahmacharya ashram. Or in other words, the need of brahmacharya across the ashrams. So it is not just restricted to brahmacharya ashram, but the need of brahmacharya in all ashrams. So to start with, why there is brahmacharya ashram? So it is in response to the lusty desire, the sex desire that everyone has. If we have a material body, there will be lusty desires. So that is the nature of this material body. And the mind can have such kind of desires. However, the question arises, what is the origin of this? So generally, when we ask, what is the origin of everything? What is the answer? Krishna. It is, yes, it's the mind. When we start from, yes, it is the mind. That is the immediate cause. But what is the ultimate cause of everything? That is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartade. Both the material and the spiritual worlds are emanating from Krishna. Krishna is the source of everything. Now, given that, when we understand this kind of desires, mundane, gross desires, what is the origin? We can say, yes, that is also Krishna, but not directly. Because such kind of mundane desires do not exist in Krishna. But there is something known as Adi Rasa. Rasa means taste. Rasa means mellows. So for any activity there is rasa. So we experience, if we eat a gulab jamun, there is ras is there. And without ras, there is no gulab jamun. You cannot eat. There is no point. It will become eating rubber. But when there is rasa, then there is taste. So ultimately, rasa is in connection to the Supreme Lord. Yes, we can experience rasa in this world. A mother has a rasa dealing with the child. Child has a rasa dealing with the mother. Husband has a rasa dealing with the wife, etc. We can see among friends. We can see this kind of mundane rasa. So rasa, this mundane rasa, we can have for the objects and can have for the person. So in this, the rasa for the person is generally superior because there is the possibility of reciprocation. Even though AI has enough developed, so when we make a phone call, we can get the responses, but we ultimately understand that there is no experiencer behind, and we ultimately understand that there is no real emotions. So because of the dearth of proper relationship and proper, even mundane rasa, one is going for AI and other artificial sources, even to have some kind of reciprocation. Okay. Now, whether it is artificial or real in this world, everything is mundane because it has its limits. Every relationship is very limited. So there comes the real relationship, that is to the Supreme Lord. So we are eternal because we are the spirit soul, Atma, the body and mind is changing all the time. So in that relationship, there is rasa, and that is the taste in a relationship. And these rasas are classified into four, that as we know, primarily, starting from Dasya, servitorship, Sakhya, friendship, Vatsalya, parental relationship, and Madhurya, which is conjugal relationship. So of all the rasas, the highest rasa is conjugal relationship. The reason being, as you go up in the rasa, the higher rasa is a superset of the all previous rasas. Dasya. So we can see Vaikuntha, and in temple we serve Krishna. This is Dasya ras. And the next one is Sakhya, the friends of Krishna. They are playing with Krishna. That is Sakhya. So Sakhya has Dasya as well as friendship. How come Dasya exists? Because everyone is serving Krishna as a friend. So that is the next Sakhya. And we know that Sakhya, there is more intimate relationship than Dasya. Then next one is Vatsalya. Vatsalya is also serving Krishna. Mother Yashoda and elderly Gopas and Gopis, they are serving Krishna. That is Vatsalya ras. So in Vatsalya rasa, there is Dasya. There is Sakhya, because the feeling of friendship is there, because being the well-wisher. Then primary is Vatsalya, parental relationship. And ultimately it is conjugal relationship, Madhurya ras or Sringara ras. That is the highest. And in that, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, everything is included in Sringara ras or in the Madhurya ras. So that is Krishna's relationship with the gopis. So this is considered Adi rasa. So the original rasa is Adi rasa, that is the Sringara ras or the Madhurya ras, and which has nothing to do with mundane conjugal relationship. It has nothing to do with the relationship man and woman may have in this world. It has nothing to do. It's completely free from that. And so all the great devotees glorify this Adiras. Shukadeva Goswami, he has nothing to do with this material world. How was he walking? He came out of the womb of his mother. He's a son of Vyasadeva. When he came out from the womb, what he did? What he did when he came out from the womb of his mother? Everyone should do, yeah? Exactly, he just walked away from home. He didn't have any attraction for father or mother. He was completely Brahman realized. He was not Krishna realized, but he was Brahman realized. So he just walked away. Even when he was in the womb, he didn't want to come out of the womb. Why? Because he was thinking, inside or outside, it's all the same. It's all Brahman. Then if I go outside, I can be entangled by the material energy. So finally, he lived there for about 16 years, and Krishna had to come and give a promise, you will not be affected by material desires, and so you may come out. Then he came out. This is the position of Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami, he is not attached. But even Shukadeva Goswami glorifies Krishna's Rasa Leela. Krishna's relationship with the gopis, because that is the topmost spiritual activity. And since we only know certain kind of relationship between man and woman, we can misconstrue the relationship of Krishna and the gopis. It has nothing to do with this world, because Krishna doesn't have a material body to experience the so-called sex desire, nor gopis have a material body. And Krishna is simply enjoying with his own energy, because gopis are ultimately expansion of Krishna himself. So he is still, in one sense, Atma Rama. He's not enjoying outside of himself. He's just enjoying within, even when he's having his relationship with all the gopis. So this is the Adi Rasa, which has been glorified, who are beyond material clutches. As Shukadeva Goswami himself speaks in the second canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Paridishtatopi nairgunye uttama shloka leelaya grihita cheta rajashe adhyatametat adhitavan. He says, Paridishtatopi nairgunye. I was already situated beyond the three modes of material nature, nairgunya. But still, I got attracted by uttama shloka Leelaya. I got completely captured by the pastimes of Krishna. So if somebody who is beyond material nature, how can such a person be attracted by something mundane? Not possible. So Krishna's pastimes are completely spiritual. It has nothing to do with material world, even though it may resemble mundane activities, because it can attract the mundane consciousness. That is the only reason. Otherwise, it has nothing to do whatsoever with this material world. And in those, the top activity is the Adiras and the Leelas in the Adiras. However, we don't discuss those activities elaborately. Why? Because we can have misconception. Even our own lusty desires can erupt if we hear intimate activities of Krishna and his dear devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself glorifies Krishna's intimate activities. It has nothing to do with the mundane sex desire. And now, so this is Krishnendriya Priti. This is called Prema. The love of the devotees to Krishna is called Prema. So that is called Krishnendriya Priti is called Prema. Love. And here the so-called love of this world, we don't consider it as love. That is called lust. That is called Atmendriya Priti, is known as Kama. So there is difference between Kama and Prema. Prema is Krishnendriya Priti, very simple. Satisfy the senses of Krishna. That is Krishnendriya Priti, Prema. And Atmendriya Priti is Kama. So this world, we can see such a prominence of Kama, lust, because everyone is trying to satisfy one's own senses in different degrees. So now, when we consider even our own development of the body, when we hit the stage of puberty, or in other words, when the body is ready, what happens? The mind can be filled with lusty desires. Till then, as kids, life is very free. There is no problem with boy or a girl. Everything is free. But as soon as the puberty is hit, things changes. Can you see? So when the body is ready, then the mind get activated. And so, what happens? One have this uncontrollable sensual desires that start flowing. And we all deal with that. And now, if you see, Shastra says that if we don't control, it is a problem. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, lust is such a thing, dushparena analena cha. It is just like if you pour fuel to the fire. If you try to satisfy that more, it will increase. It's not going to reduce. So this is the nature of these kind of desires. It's going to increase. So Shastra says that even though this relationship between man and woman is highly glorified in this world, there are so many poetries, there are so many movies, and the romance is considered something which is sacred. But when it comes to Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Bhāgavatam gives a completely different perspective. Rishabhdev himself teaches in the fifth canto of Bhagavatam, just 2 cantos before, Nayam deho deha bhajo kashtan kaman arhade vidbhujanye tavo divyam putragayena sattvam shuddhyet yasmat brahma saukhyam tu anantam. He says, what is the big deal between sense gratification, fulfilling these lusty desires? What's the big deal? One can have this in animal form. Which form is talking about? Vidbhujanye. Vidbhuja means eating, the stool eaters, referring to pigs. So even in that relationship, a relationship between a pig and a gilt or a sow, a she-pig is a sow, even in that relationship, whatever sense gratification one can obtain, we are obtaining the same thing in the human body. So there is nothing to be glorified about such kind of a relationship and fulfilling such kind of a relationship. There is no point in it. It is just animalistic. We are not denying it. There is a need for it. But at the same time, it is nothing glorious. So it is one of the animal propensities. Eating, mating, sleeping and defending are animal propensities. Of course, we inherit, we may do it in a very polished way, but it is nothing glorious about it. So that is, without dharma, dharmena hina pashubhir samana. Dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho. The only superior quality of human being is dharma. We can be Krishna conscious. Dharmena hina pashubhir samana is just a two-legged animal. So there's nothing glorious about it. So Shastra gives the right perspective, because in the 11th canto it is mentioned, very interesting verse, it's mentioned that of all kinds of suffering and bondage arising from various attachments, none is greater than the suffering and bondage arising from attachment to woman or from intimate contact with those attached to woman. Meaning it is applicable vice versa. It is man's attachment to woman and woman's attachment to man. It's the same thing, same principle. So this is considered, this can create the ultimate bondage. Can you see? So this is how the creation is made. So this world is known as Maidhuna Agara. It is almost like a prison. And in this prison, there are no shackles, there are no bars. But it's a bar of this attraction. That is the bar. And this attraction is so deep. Yesterday and day before, Prabhu was mentioning, Archita Prabhu was talking about this. This can even go not just in the youth, not in the middle age, even one can have lusty desires even in the old age. You remember the story Prabhu told about the Birbal and the daughter? Birbal was telling, at the old age, these desires will go away. No, it will not go away. So Birbal took him, and a person who is going to die, young daughter of Birbal and Akbar and Birbal, all three of them went there. And the Birbal asked Akbar, look at the eyes of this old man. Where is he focusing? So he saw the old man is focusing on his young daughter, beautiful daughter. So this is the power. So this attachment can bind us strongly in this material world. So this is the problem. And so one has to deal with very carefully, and all the ashramas are actually response to this kind of desire. How this man-woman attraction is there. So how to deal with this in a perfect way? And for that, the 4 systems are given. One is brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas, while making spiritual advancement. So that's why it is considered a very scientific system. So we accept there is a problem, and we try to understand the root of the problem, and then find the solution to this. So it is mentioned, this relationship can be so complicated. Man-woman relationship can be so complicated, and it can create deepest attachment, and it can give deepest suffering. We see this all the time, right? The relationship problems are the biggest problem in this world. We see this again and again. Nowadays, if you see in this world, not around the world, relationship problems are the deepest problem. At one point, very close, very intimate, and the next point, it is such a fight, such a problem, and such a pain. And especially when we meet and talk to even devotees or others who are going through relationship issues, they are going through such a deep suffering. So that's the reality of it. So it is considered a problem for the human being, but we need to deal with that. We need to manage it. We cannot just get rid of it. So then, if one is attached in this mundane thing, all the good qualities can go away. All the good qualities. So Bhagavatam says, Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yed indriya pridir apranoti. So even when one is attached so lustfully, the lusty desire can even make one to commit all the cruel activities. One can be completely insensitive to this world if one is completely covered by lust. So we see even stories, there is a family and there is an extramarital affair, and then the husband killing the wife, we murdering, even Prabhupada tells all these stories. And we can see in the society these kind of things because it can give complete illusion, and people can act so cruelly and one can do anything. So this is the bewildering nature. So even though it is very gross, it is very bewildering. Even though we hear all these things, still we can be very much bewildered. That's the nature of this desire. So that's why Bhagavad Gita Krishna mentions Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhava mahashino mahabhatma vidhyeham vairina. Why people act all sinful way? Arjuna asked to Krishna in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, why? So Krishna gives the answer as if one is being pushed. Why people act in a sinful fashion? Krishna says, Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhava. Because of Kama, lust, which is born from the mode of rajogun, the mode of passion. So this is the reality. Now, what is the ultimate solution for lust? Krishna, love. Love is because the solution for lust is love. If we develop love for Krishna, then the lust will reduce proportionately. So that is a solution. And for that solution to function, what we need the principle of brahmacharya. So I'll explain the brahmacharya as the basis of all ashrams in 2 ways. To start with, brahmacharya is the principle of all ashrams. Srila Prabhupada himself says, without brahmacharya, one cannot understand the spiritual principles. Prabhupada says. Why? Because if the mind is affected by lusty desires, it can be any selfish desire, not just relation between the opposite genders, not just that, but any strong material desires, it is not possible to go deeper in bhakti. Because we can only have one thing at a time. So we cannot have both. So this is the nature. So brahmacharya is the basis of all ashrams. So if we are in any ashram, we have to practice brahmacharya according to that ashram. For example, for a brahmacharya means absolutely there is no connection to the opposite gender. And if there is a connection, it is only in regard to the service. So it's not that brahmachari shouldn't speak to anyone. Yeah, brahmachari can speak to Matajis, absolutely no problem. And also address all the women as Mataji or mother. And for the need of service, a brahmachari talks. There's no problem with that. As it is mentioned, Prabhupada says, a classic example, a brahmachari should speak to woman. He gave an example, pass the salt. In the kitchen, can say pass the salt because you need the salt. So Mataji says the salt, okay, pass the salt. So what is necessary for the service? As it is mentioned in these verses, when a brahmachari goes to collect alms, so there is a need for talk to Matajis. So speak what is necessary in relation to collecting the alms and come along. So this is brahmacharya. So there is a strict and there is no connection to woman whatsoever. So this is the brahmacharya for a brahmachari. And for a grihastha, how is the brahmacharya practiced in grihastha ashram? Strictly following the 4th regulatory principle. So this is the principle of brahmacharya in grihastha ashram. So even for a grihastha to make progress, a grihastha has to follow the regulatory principle very strictly. So even 4th regulatory principle, one has to follow very strictly, because the intimate relation only for procreation. So this is the principle. This is the brahmacharya in grihastha-ashram. So Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's guru, he used to address such kind of grihasthas who are following brahmacharya. They are actually grihastha brahmacharis. Even though they are in grihastha-ashram, still they are acting as brahmacharis and they can make progress. So even for grihasthas, at one point they have to come to this standard of strictly following the regulative principle. Otherwise, there is no possibility of making advancement. Then, for vanaprastha can be single or can be with wife. In either case, there is no intimate relationship with one's own wife. So this is, or any woman, that is vanaprastha. And sannyas, of course, it is also absolutely restraining from the opposite gender. So in this way, we can see that brahmacharya is the basis of all ashram, whether one is a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha or sannyas. Otherwise, one will not be able to make progress because the mind will be polluted by this desire. As I mentioned earlier, if you try to fulfill unlawfully, the mind is not going to give up, rather it is going to increase. Second point, it is the basis because brahmachari training is the beginning of all ashrams. Here we can see at the age of 5, the parents sent a young boy to the ashram of the Guru. That is mentioned here. Brahmachari Gurukule Vasan. Brahmachari lives in Gurukula. So this is the beginning. And then what happens, we will go through the duties and responsibilities of brahmachari. Then we can see that gives a firm foundation in controlling the senses. Because even before puberty hits, a brahmachari is in the ashram and now he is getting trained in controlling the senses. So when a brahmachari leaves the ashram, brahmachari knows how to control the senses, and then one can be a grihastha brahmachari when he enters the grihastha ashram. In that way, a brahmachari can make, and a grihastha can make progress. In other words, a properly trained brahmachari can make good grihastha, good vanaprastha, and good sannyasi. And if the brahmachari is not good, that cannot make any of the other ashrams proper. So this is the significance of brahmachari training. Second, brahmachari training will give the taste for renunciation. Because brahmachari life is simple life. And in that, one understands that one is deriving happiness by the spiritual practices and service. And the life is very simple. Sleeping on the floor, whatever prasadam comes, and always engaged in service. It's a simple life. And then, even one enters grihastha ashrama, or later at the end of grihastha ashrama, one has to retire. Vanaprastha means is a life of austerity. It's explained here that is severe, it's mentioned in this chapter, but there has to be austerities in vanaprastha ashram. So to do that, if there has to be a taste for renunciation, one need to have tasted renunciation, and that renunciation can be tasted in brahmachari ashram. So in that respect also, brahmachari training is very important, and brahmachari training is both for the attached and for the detached. Somebody who is attached, one wants to enjoy the material world, still can be trained in brahmachari ashram for some time. And so one develops some taste for renunciation, one develops some taste for spiritual practices, and the atmosphere is conducive for full-time engagement in Krishna's service. And then one can enter grihastha ashram. So that is for the attached. And for the detached, one can continue brahmachari ashram. So one may accept sannyas or one may continue as a brahmachari for life. So this is the importance of brahmachari ashram. And as it is mentioned here, what are the responsibilities and duties of brahmachari? Brahmachari gurukule vasan dantaha gurorhitam. Dantaha, sense control. One of the most important aspects of brahmachari ashram is brahmachari is to control the senses. Whether it is eating or sleeping. One has to control the senses. And then it is mentioned, a brahmachari is very busy in service, serving the spiritual master. So in the context of ISKCON, here this is the Guru's ashram. So the temple representatives are actually representing Guru, our initiating spiritual master, and we are actually living in the Guru's ashram, which is a temple. It's the temple ashram is Guru's ashram. Guru may not be living here, but still it is Guru's ashram. And all the activities are performed. We do a lot of responsibilities. We serve in crosses. We may do collection. We may distribute books. We may distribute prasadam. But whatever we get, everything is for the benefit of the temple, benefit for the Guru, not for personal gratification. So brahmachari cannot have personal possessions in that sense. Nothing we get, we keep it for ourselves. If we distribute books, money comes, it's all for the temple, nothing for ourselves. One may distribute prasadam, one may earn money. It's all for the temple and not for personal benefit. Can you see? So this is the nature. You can turn it a bit this way, not facing the deities. So this is the nature of brahmachari ashram. So brahmachari gurukule vasan dantaha, controlling the senses, guror hitam. It's only for the benefit of the guru. Acharan dasavan nichaha. Acharan. What is practicing? Dasavat. Just like a servant. He's a servant, and nichaha performs all menial activities. So this is function of a brahmachari, performs all menial activities. Gurau sudritha sauhurdaha. This is a very important point. At the same time, there is a deep friendship with the Guru. What is the meaning of that? A brahmachari is very connected to the spiritual master, understands the mood and mission of the spiritual master, and so brahmachari acts as a well-wisher of the spiritual master in deep friendship. The brahmachari should be able to understand the mood and mission of the spiritual master and completely aligned to the mood and mission of the spiritual master. In that way, one is in deep attachment, deep sudridha sauhurda, not just Sahurda, friendship or being the well-wisher, but Sudridha, not even Dridha. Dridha means strong. Sudridha means even more strong. Such kind of a deep connection to the spiritual master. So this is the nature of brahmachari. Then, next it is mentioned, at both junctions of day and night, namely in the early morning and in the evening, he should be fully absorbed in thoughts of the spiritual master, fire, the sun god and Vishnu, and by chanting the Gayatri mantra, he should worship them. So a brahmachari thinks about the spiritual master, and it is common to all ashrams for that sake. What do we do when we get up first? We pay obeisances. It doesn't matter which ashram, whether brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. We get up. After we getting up, our first thing is, you can just turn a little bit so that we are not facing the deities, back towards the deities, or you can come and sit here. So a brahmachari at all ashrams, after getting up, pay obeisances to the spiritual master. That is the first step. Then we chant, we have Guru Puja, Guru Ashtagam. If you see 4:30, Guru Ashtagam, it is for one's own spiritual master. Then we worship Srila Prabhupada at 7 o'clock. And if you are Brahman initiated, we at the 3 junctions, we chant Gayatri Mantra. So we do apply the principles in our day-to-day life. So this is the practice of brahmacharya. So then it is mentioned that further, very important activity of a brahmachari, which is being called by the spiritual master, the students study the Vedic mantras regularly. Every day before beginning his studies and at the end of the studies, the disciple should respectfully offer obeisances unto the spiritual master. This is also very important, that swadhyaya is the dharma of a brahmachari. Brahmachari means student life, of course, spiritual student. And swadhyaya is the dharma of a brahmachari. And so, a brahmachari should know Shastra. So before studying, pay obeisances to the spiritual master, and at the end, pay obeisances to the spiritual master. Even in the Bhāgavatam class, initially we pay obeisances to the spiritual master. At the end, we pay respects to Srila Prabhupada. So we can see the beginning of the study and end of the study, we pay respects to the spiritual master. So this is part of being brahmachari, because brahmachari is sudridha gurau, sudridha sauhurdaha. Gurau means unto guru, sudridha sauhurda. Very much connected to the guru and always in a deep friendship or being a complete well-wisher of the spiritual master, completely aligned to the mood and mission of the spiritual master. And so in each and every activity, a student thinks about the spiritual master. Then here it's mentioned about the appearance of a Vedic brahmachari, which is not really applicable at this point in time. Carrying pure kusha grass in the hand, kusha grass in his hand, the brahmachari should dress regularly with the belt of straw and with deerskin garments. Can you see? Wearing a deerskin. I don't wear deerskin. We wear proper clothes, stitched clothes. But a Vedic brahmachari used to wear deerskin, got a danda in the hand, matted hair, kamandalu in the hand, and live in the forest, practically speaking. And nothing to do with the society. Carry a rod water pot decorated with sacred thread, the Brahmin thread, as recommended in the Shastra. This is if you see a brahmachari, he has a matted hair and a danda, kamandalu, and you see him as a renunciant. There is no doubt about it. At the same time, in the current society, the dress code of a brahmachari is slightly different. And Bhaktivedanta Maharaj wanted brahmacharis to wear saffron cloth because it is suitable for preaching, because the society respects saffron cloth, and so he wanted to wear saffron cloth. That's why we wear saffron cloth. So that is the outfit, and we had to be clean because it is unacceptable. It is good for both the society, for preaching, and for oneself. So we don't have matted hair because it is not so clean. It's very difficult to maintain matted hair. So we need to wash, or we have short hair and we shave it off for cleanliness. So external cleanliness can help the internal cleanliness as well. In Vedic society, it is quite different because they are living in the forest. Also, it is very austere. But now, we are not in that condition. Currently, the purpose of all the renounced ashrams is to preach. Even sannyas ashram is not recommended in the Shastra. It is rejected. But sannyas is introduced even by Lord Chaitanya and others only for the purpose of preaching. Because in Grihastha ashram, yes, of course one can preach, but one doesn't have the freedom that a sannyasi has. And so even sannyasam ashram is introduced in the Kali Yuga, even though otherwise it is not there. So here is mentioned, only carrying a rod, water pot decorated with the sacred thread as recommended in the Shastra. And the brahmachari should go out in the morning and evening to collect alms and should offer all that he collects to the spiritual master. So this is a very important principle. So this is the principle that we follow here. If distributing books, it is almost like begging, collecting alms. We are giving knowledge and asking for a donation. And what do? With the money that we get, give to the temple. We don't keep any money with us. So this principle is followed by everyone in this temple. For example, not just brahmacharis, grihasthas. They distribute books, get money. Don't think that, okay, there is some extra money. Okay, let me keep some money. No, give to the temple. So there's a principle. So that we don't get polluted. Money can pollute us. Of course, grihastha has to work and make money. That is a different story. That is, of course, is accepted. But otherwise, when we are collecting alms, all the money is given to the temple, to Guru. Here, in this context, is the Guru, because they used to live in the Guru's ashram. Here, the temple is the Guru's ashram. He should eat only if ordered to take food by the spiritual master. So this is the Vedic brahmachari. It's a home. Generally, Guru or Guru's wife, Guru Mata will call, okay, come for prasadam, come and eat. And if it's not called for prasadam, don't eat, fast, upavasa. So this is the Vedic system. And then, it is mentioned very important qualities that a brahmachari must have. A brahmachari should be quite well behaved and gentle and should not eat or collect more than necessary. A brahmachari should be well behaved and gentle. There is previously there was this concept of brahmacharis just being manly, machos. I am a brahmachari, I am just hard, rude. That doesn't work. That is not the principle of brahmacharya, and if one maintains such kind of attitude, one will leave brahmacharya ashram. That we have seen again and again. I remember a number of years back, I was in the ashram, and a new brahmachari came. He was visiting here, European boy, young boy, maybe 20, 21. So one Mataji was giving class, and Narayani Mataji was giving class. Narayani Mataji, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, she's over 70, 75 years old, older devotee. And that's why you're sitting here, go attend the Bhagavatam class. He said, look, Mataji is giving class, so I cannot listen. I said, come on, he's like your grandmother, what's wrong in it? So this is called fanaticism. It's not gentle behavior, it's being rude. And he didn't listen. I said, you are staying here for 2 days, so I tolerate. If you have to stay here long, we cannot tolerate this. So he didn't. And it was a matter of few months, he left Brahmacharya. Can you see? So it's not a proper behavior. Gentle behavior. Very important. Proper behavior. So Brahmachari should be quite well behaved. Proper behavior. Gentle and should not eat or collect more than necessary. Even though it is mentioned, okay, prasadam is a solace if there is hard work. That is the only gratification that is allowed in all ashrams in one sense. But a brahmachari shouldn't eat too much. Okay, initial months, one may eat a lot. But after that, one need to learn how to control the senses. Because if brahmachari eats too much, it is very difficult to control the senses. There is pressure. Especially even in the night, if it overly eat, it is very difficult to control the senses. So one has to eat what is necessary, and at the same time, he must always be active and expert, fully believing in the instructions of Shastra and Guru. A brahmachari should be daksha. Daksha means whatever service he is doing, should know how to do that service. So brahmachari should get trained in doing service and should do the service properly. Cannot be sloppy. Cannot be slacking in services. No, should do proper service. So this is the nature of a brahmachari. Then, fully controlling the senses, associate only as much as necessary with women or those who are controlled by women. This is also a very important principle. A brahmachari shouldn't freely mix with women. First of all, a brahmachari has no business with preaching to women or cultivating women. Okay, one can speak what is necessary. If you are distributing books, we speak something. If you are giving a lecture, we speak. If there is any question, we answer. But it is not the business of a brahmachari to develop friendship with women. That is not allowed. It's not allowed in any renounced ashram, because we know what is the consequence. We'll see. That will be discussed further in the next verse. It's about the principle of butter and fire. Who is fire and who is butter in man and woman? Any guess? Who is fire and who is butter? Any guess? Woman is fire, that's right. Woman is compared to a fire and man is compared to butter. You can have a block of butter. I left it in the cool room for 1 year. Solid butter block, yellow block, big block. But 1 year it was in the cool room. But as soon as you bring in front of the fire, it'll start melting. Doesn't matter how long you kept it in the cool room. This is the nature. Similarly, man in association of woman will behave differently. That's how it is. That's the nature. That's how man works. That is the nature of the man. And so, to maintain brahmacharya, one cannot freely associate with women. Very simple principle. There has been this study done in the current age, a kind of a social study about behavior of a man in the presence of a woman. So it is told that he's doing some activity, and beforehand he's told few women are watching your activity. And they were analyzing how they perform in executing that particular activity. Vice versa. So first, a group of men were told, look, women are watching, you do this activity. So it was, and invariably all men performed less in the presence of women. Because the mind was going on, somebody is watching. And in the absence of women, they did well. And with respect to women were performing the same activity, and they were told men are watching. They were not affected. But men were affected. So this is the nature, actually. That's why the fire and butter principle. So in presence of women, men are affected. That's how it is. Because of the nature of the hormone men has. More prone to these kind of things. Affected more. Of course, women has their own attachments and issues to deal with. But at the same time, the gross presence affects man. And that's why in this principle of brahmacharya, it is mentioned that one has to avoid unnecessary connection with woman. So in principle, we can preach, giving a common lecture, we can give books, we can give some instructions, but at the same time, there is no intimate or very close cultivation of woman by a man. We will end up in problem, and we have seen these problems again and again in all societies. The people in the renounced ashrams facing trouble in maintaining the ashram. Why? Because of free mixing, even to some degree. There is a problem. So this is the principle of brahmacharya. If one follows this brahmacharya, one can make spiritual advancement. So that is the reason it's been emphasized. Whether one can be a grihastha, still there has to be the principle of brahmacharya. Strict following of regularity principle. There are rules in connecting with women so that our objective is clear. Objective is spiritual advancement. And when that objective is clear, then we do follow this quite strictly. So here, as it is mentioned, the roles and responsibilities of brahmachari is mentioned in this verses, and we have the short purport. And see, is there any questions or comments? Yes, Sivya.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the nice class. Prabhu, you mentioned how lust is the root cause of all mistakes, and that love for Lord Krishna can only solve that. But Prabhu, we see in Bhakti, we do have attachment for Krishna. We have love for him, but still we commit mistakes because of our uncontrolled senses. So what is lacking in that?
So we are dealing with two things. On one side, we have some attraction for Krishna. We like chanting. We like come to the temple. We like Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. We like prasadam. We like association of the devotees. Well and good. But on the other side, we have our material desires. So this is the stage of bhakti which is known as, do you know the name of the stage of bhakti? Anartha nivritti. So bhakti starts with Shraddha. Shraddha means a little bit of faith. Not too bad. Coming to the temple, not too bad. Devotees are not too bad. Maybe chanting, it's all right. I can try. This is called Shraddha. First, there is some kind of attraction to devotion service. That is the beginning. Then, Shraddha will give us Sadhu Sangha, association of the devotees. Then, we associate with the devotees. We ask questions. We try to learn in the association of the devotees. That is the second stage. And in Sadhu Sangha, we understand how to properly practice bhakti. That is called bhajana kriya. So in Krishna consciousness, we understand, we chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we fast for Ekadashi, we follow 4 regularity principles, and then we understand, okay, this is how to practice bhakti. So this is the stage of bhajana kriya. So as we go through our bhajana kriya, we start developing some attraction for Krishna, for the devotees, for the process, etc. But at the same time, we have all these anarthas or the unwanted things in our heart. They have not yet gone. It is reducing, but still they are there. So this is the two sides. So sometimes this anartha nivritti is compared to a tug of war. You know, tug of war. Have you played tug of war? It's fun. You know, tug of war. We have that one drop and, hold on each other side and, pull. We had one tug of war. We had a celebration, Onam celebration. We went to a farm and we did tug of war. It was a lot of fun. With full force, all the boys in each side, who's going to win. Similarly, in the stage of anartha nivritti, when we start practicing bhakti, we also deal with tug of war. That is, on one side, our material desires, and on the other side, our bhakti. So we know it's not good. These material desires are not good, but we cannot get rid of them. So we try to pull on to one direction. And then sometimes one direction. Sometimes we may lose. Sometimes we may win. So this is the stage of anartha nivritti, and it is okay to recognize this. It's good to have. No problem. We understand we have material desires and at the same time we have spiritual desires. And there is a competition between them. We acknowledge, but what do we have to do? This is an example given. We have 2 dogs with us. One is a good one, one is a bad one. One is supporting our Krishna consciousness, one is not. What we had to do? Only feed the good dog and starve the other one. So this is the principle of brahmacharya. Simple. This is the principle of brahmacharya to start with, and other things. So we add Krishna to our life. We want to enjoy, yes, chant and dance in front of Krishna in the association of the devotees. Chant and dance as a madman or a woman, no problem. So we have energy, use it. You want to organize things for Krishna. You want to eat, have all the prasadam. Okay, even though it is mentioned, brahmachari should control the senses, okay. But eat prasadam, better than eating anything else. So have a party, no problem. But with Krishna prasadam. Do we have any dearth for Krishna prasadam here? No. It's a feast start from the morning, right? And all the festivals, so many feasts. So we have our bona fide gratification. It's not just sense gratification. Yes, it is sense gratification, but it's allowed. It is Krishna prasadam which is going to purify us. So fill our life with Krishna consciousness, and that is very good. We feel happy. Meanwhile, the unwanted desire, don't feed or minimize. Of course, we had to take care of our body, we had to work, we had to do other things, that's all good. But sense gratification, reduce. So that's what happens to the devotees. Those who are going to the parties, after some time they become devotees. No need to go to the party. We have better parties here, right? Who can party better than us? Actually, I remember we were holding a program for Western people, or non-Indian people, or mostly Westerners and other people. And we had, this big kirtan, just really chanting, dancing, almost like a rave party, and they were all very happy. They were telling, this is far better than nightclub. Because we are still sober and we are actually enjoying. I remember even we had a Madhava Prabhu Kirtan here. Remember, in the temple room is packed and everyone just dancing, rocking here. And many of the non-Indian people, they said, certainly this is better than a party, this is better than the nightclub. So we are not missing out on anything. So add Krishna so that we are satisfied, then we can control the senses. So Krishna consciousness is not about, or bhakti in general is not about negation, but rather adding something is positive, we are satisfied, then give up the lower taste. Param drishto anuvartade. This Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is very practical. He says, Param drishto anuvartade. Yeah? You develop a higher taste, then the lower taste will go away. You have a problem with all the lust you desire, all this kind. Okay, no problem. You develop a higher taste, that will go away. You don't need to do anything. So this is a principle. This is a principle that is applicable in everyone's life. Everyone, we all have to follow this. Make sense?
And Prabhuji, you mentioned that we can find all the rasas in Goloka, and
yes.
and we hear in lectures our goal is to go back to Godhead and follow in the footsteps of the gopis.
Yeah.
So Prabhu, when there are the only ashram we can find there is Grihastha ashram, why is there so many ashrams like mentioned like Grihastha?
No, it's not only Grihastha ashram at this point. It can look like, yes, in any Vedic society also, Grihastha ashram was the prominent ashram. Or okay, of course we can say in the Satya Yuga and different yugas, other ashrams were prominent. But generally in Kali Yuga, mostly you find Grihastha ashram. But other ashrams are also there. Isn't it? Have you seen all ashrams? We should see all ashrams. Brahmachari ashram you have seen. Grihastha ashram you have seen. Have you seen Vanaprastha ashram? Those Grihastha devotees who are only dedicated in Krishna service, their children are grown up. They don't have any pressure of making money, and they're just doing service. They are Vanaprasthas. Have you seen Vanaprasthas? You can see Vanaprasthas. You can see those who are Grihasthas, they are retired now. They don't have to look after their children. They're all being taken care. Now there is no much pressure of making money. They're primarily engaged in reading Shastra, giving lectures, coming, doing service in the temple, etc. That is Vanaprastha ashram. And Sannyasa ashram. So all ashrams are there. So they will all this will happen gradually in our life. Make sense?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Any other question? Okay. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल।